This one's going to be a little bit more philosophical than I normally do, and I tend to do some philosophical videos on this channel. But it's a topic that I think about a lot, especially lately. And it's going to seem strange coming from me given that I talk about running shoes and running shoe tech on this channel. In fact, I consider this a running shoe channel, not just a running channel, a running shoe channel. I'm a runner. I do talk about my running training and other stuff in running, but primarily I'm focused on running shoes, tech, and design. And the question I've been thinking a lot about is, do running shoes really matter? And this is a topic that I think about often. It comes back every so often. It's one of those things that I'm always thinking about when I'm running. I'm a runner who doesn't run with music or AirPods or podcasts. I need to go out there and feel and hear the silence and just me, my breath, my footsteps. And that gives me a lot of time to think about things. And this is something I think about quite often. More specifically, it's something that's come up a lot lately. I would say the past 5-6 weeks, as I've been really focused in on testing a handful of shoes, really only 3 or 4 shoes for long-term reviews. And I'm talking long-term reviews, probably 200-mile plus reviews. And if you follow me on Strava, you'll see those shoes that I'm running, and I'm really trying to dial in and understand how those shoes feel and behave on foot day after day after day after day to really get into the durability, but also the usability of those shoes. And that's really counter to what the spring was on this channel, where it was just a ton of shoes. Late winter into spring, almost all of the shoes that I had planned on covering on this channel in the first 6 months of 2025 basically released in January, February, a little bit in March. And it was crazy. So I was running in a ton of shoes back to back to back to back. And I was trying to get into them and really understand how they work and putting 50 miles into trainers, which is something I do on this channel. But at the same time, I was going between a lot of different shoes, which gave me another perspective about how all of these shoes kind of transition together and work together. And then switching gears and going the completely opposite direction, focusing on only on a handful of shoes, it's been really interesting. It's brought this conversation, this topic back front of mind for me. And another aspect of this is I'm a minimalist, in case you can't tell from watching this channel. I like things as simple as possible. I want everything as stripped down to the essentials as it possibly can. I'm very much of that Dieter Rams school of less but better. I really want to just get into the most fundamental of really anything that I do. So I'm not someone who has a lot of possessions. I'm not someone who has a lot of stuff around me. On this channel, I'm very selective about what I cover. I'm not trying to be all-inclusive. I'm not trying to show every single shoe. I'm really only focusing in on the shoes I find interesting. So the idea of like a giant shoe wall behind me, that's something you're never going to see on this channel. So I like getting to these kind of essential questions. And I feel like, do running shoes really matter? That's a very essential question. Now, on one hand, we are in an era of running, and I've talked a lot about this on the channel lately, of just technology everywhere. We have some of the best technology and the highest technology, and from the most basic daily trainer all the way up to the top tier super shoe that we've ever seen in running. It's really kind of remarkable, the materials and the geometries and the engineering of the shoes across all categories that we have access to right now. But still, I come back to, does all of this really matter? Do these innovations and changes really matter? So on one hand, I think about these shoes and I think about the runner who gets excited about that pair of shoes, that trainer or that super shoe or whatever that shoe is. It's the shoe that makes them excited to get out the door day after day after day. And I think that's fundamentally a good thing. And I would say that's where a running shoe really does matter. But on the other side of that is, if you look at just a basic athletic shoe, and I'm talking one that you can get at a discount store for $15, $20 US. I mean, just a basic, I would even call it a trainer, just an athletic shoe. That shoe is probably better than most basic daily trainers of 20 years ago. The materials, the foams, the adhesives in there, the weight of the shoe, that's probably better than shoes that were top of the line 20, 25 years ago. So could you run in that shoe? Does it really make a difference going from that just basic trainer into the top tier, top tech tempo trainers or super shoes that we have right now? And when I think about that question, it becomes very interesting for me. Now, we've seen a lot of other shoe tubers do that video of they get the most basic budget model from a given line, or they get a basic shoe and they go out and they compare that with the, top tier super shoe of the day. I'm not really interested in making that video. We've all seen that video. Obviously, the top tier shoe is going to be the better shoe. But what is the actual difference? If you go out on a workout, and I think a lot of coaches would say this, you can go out and do that workout, the fast reps, in that trainer, in that just basic athletic shoe. And you're going to get the work done, and you're going to get a big training stimulus in that shoe. But you can also go out and do that in the top tier super shoe, and you're probably going to get about the same stimulus. You're going to feel faster, you're going to feel more efficient, but is it actually going to be any faster? And this is where it comes down to, fundamentally, the answer for me is that it is a bit of a marginal gain. The top tier, top tech super shoe, and I don't have any data on this. I'm not doing a data deep dive here. I'm not doing a paper with, cited sources. This is just going from my gut. My gut as a runner who's been running a long time and has run in a lot of different shoes. That top tier super shoe is going to be marginally better. And we're talking marginal gains here. And that's something that we heard a lot, maybe 10 years ago. We haven't really heard it come up lately. We hear a lot more about min-maxing now. That top tier super shoe is going to be fundamentally a better shoe, but are you going to get more value from that shoe over just a basic athletic trainer or even just a basic daily trainer? I don't know, and that's something that I actually really wonder about. Because in one way, doing your workout in that just basic shoe, basic athletic shoe or basic trainer, if you can get the reps done, you can hit the marks, you can hit the times that you're trying to get to, then I would say that you've nailed it. Because when you actually go put on that super shoe and go race, you're going to feel that much faster as opposed to doing all of your training in that super shoe. Now, as a runner, I do train a lot in super shoes. I tend to go from daily trainer to super shoe, and I don't really like that sort of in-between shoe, the performance trainer or tempo trainer. I want either or. I want the basic shoe or I want that race shoe, and that's what I want to train in. And I'm very selective about when I actually use one of those shoes. I try to spend most of the time in that more basic trainer and then pull out the super shoe or the race shoe specifically for the workouts that count or the reps that count within the workout. And that's how I've trained for years. I do see a difference when I'm in that super shoe, that race shoe, but it's not drastic. And that's what's really interesting to me here. Because fundamentally, running is a activity. I'm not even going to really call it a sport here. It's an activity that we do. And you can look at it as a sport. You can look at it as a training thing. But it's something that's done over a long term. You need to keep showing up day after day after day, putting in the work and building up that time, doing that training, doing your running. There is no single workout that's going to nail it and make you a faster runner. There is no single shoe that's going to make you a faster or better runner. I would say you could take a poorly trained, poor runner and put them in a super shoe, and they're not going to be any faster than even a moderately trained or well-prepared runner in a basic daily trainer. The shoe isn't the magic here. It's the work that you put in. The shoe is just a vehicle to extract the majority of that effort that you put in training. And that's what I think is really interesting about super shoes. Because at the end of the day, super shoes don't actually make you faster. All this tech doesn't actually make you faster. It allows you to run faster longer, and that's the promise of a lot of the tech that we have. It also allows you to recover faster, and that's the topic of the previous video on this channel, leg savingsness. As a gearhead, but as someone who's also a minimalist, I do think they really matter, because running shoes are this really simple thing that is enough tech, enough innovation, enough performance where they become very interesting from a gearhead standpoint, like a gear nerd standpoint, which I am. But they're also really simple. There's not a lot of other stuff that needs to come along with a good pair of running shoes. Maybe you have a trainer, maybe you have a shoe in between that for workouts, but you don't need a lot compared to a lot of other activities or sports that I've done in the past, cycling and snowboarding and a lot of other things. They're just very gear intensive. Running is very much not gear intensive. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. So that's where I think it becomes very interesting about, do running shoes really matter? The bottom line is I'm going to say that they do, but not as much as I think as we always focus on when we're talking about this stuff. Now, if you're watching this channel, you're probably a running shoe nerd like me. I love running shoes. I love talking about them. And I think there's an emphasis too much on the tech. There's too much emphasis on this shoe's going to make me a better runner. No, you're going to make yourself a better runner. Put in the work, put in the training, do that in a shoe that you're excited to run in, but also do that in a shoe that's going to make you more efficient or really optimize all that training you did in the basic shoe. So when you go out and actually do the reps that count or the races, you're going to be that much better. And I think that's where running shoes do matter. They do help you enjoy running more. They do make you feel faster. But at the end of the day, it's about you, not the shoe. So one way, yes, running shoes don't really matter, but in the other way, they really do matter because they're a vehicle to help you extract the best out of yourself when it really matters. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. If you find this content useful, consider supporting this channel. Go to sagasurunning.com to check out my recent merch, or click the join button to join this channel and support it more on a monthly basis. If neither one of those options are good for you, leave a comment, like, all of that stuff, because it helps this channel continue to grow, which I always appreciate. And with that, I'll catch you in the next one.